The way to get rid of darkness is with light. The way to overcome cold is with heat. The way to overcome the negative thought is to substitute the good thought. Affirm the good and the bad will vanish. Welcome to Endurance for Everyone, episode 177. How you doing, Rob? It's not Rob. I know. I'm joking. That's like it's like a normal, the normal reaction.
There you go.
Yeah. So
Little crossover episode instead.
a little crossover episode with well, you haven't started No Fear yet, right?
I haven't started the No Fear project. Well, I mean, we started the group, but the podcast is coming.
It's highly anticipated. You know this, right?
It's kind of crazy how anticipated it is, and that's kind
Well,
of goes along with the project itself.
yeah.
The fact that I've got this huge fear of not getting it done now.
Well, it fits right in, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I love it. I think it hit a nerve with people.
for sure.
Yeah, I had I don't want to go into it really, but had a post that my son put online today that was kind of like the same, right along the same lines. And it's like, I mean, if you'd only listen to me, I'd send them to your group, But
You got to get somebody else to invite them, right?
that's what you know. What Karen said that to me. It's got to be someone that's not family.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's got
exactly.
to be someone out from outside.
Well, I mean, we haven't put it out there much, right? And we still have people getting added every day, and I haven't put it out there like saying, "Hey, come check this out." And after the first week,
Yeah,
so
I
and
know.
we're almost 4 weeks in, I think now, and it just keeps kind of organically growing. It's not a huge group, but consider it's tight and it's safe, and everybody
Yeah,
knows it's safe, right? And
right.
that's been what's so cool about it.
Right, and I think I had to rethink my position on that a long time ago. That, when we first started, well, back to Fatman Slow Triathlete and back of pack and all that. The idea was to get the group as big as possible, and then I had to start rethinking that. It's like, do I really want the group as big? Do I really want another sub 30 group that's got thousands of people in it, or do I want 500-600 people? and,
Right.
and, and very tight. And I figured, that's why. I mean, it really went back to why I lowered coaching rates, everything. It's like I need to get back to that original plan that it needs to be a tighter group.
You're a man of the people,
I'm
John.
a man of the people. That's exactly what it is. I believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been what's awesome about the No Fear Project is the engagement, the
Mm-hmm.
discussions, people opening up, and then you can see a few times or somebody will post something and people are like, "Oh man, that's me." It's just I haven't been able to say it,
Right.
and I obviously can't name names, but
Yeah.
I've become privately too, where people are calling and messaging and saying, "Hey, I can't really say this in the group, but would you mind listening?" And of course, I'm here to listen. And we've even talked about with one person, it gave me the idea of, look, I really would love to talk about this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't have my voice on air. So if you can figure out a way to disguise it, I'm all in.
Really.
And I had not thought about voice scrambling before. And now I got to go figure out that technology because I think,
It's always something, man. I mean, it's
yeah,
like, what did I hear the other? Oh, you're through Podbean, right? You go through
I
Podbean.
am, yeah.
Did you see
Hmm.
they have live podcasting now?
I did,
And
yeah.
it's like, oh God. Now do we want to go into that?
Now I'm going to leave that to the ginger runner.
Yeah.
That's what the ginger runner
That's what
does.
that's what
Ginger
he
runner.
that's what he do. Well,
Yeah, I'm gonna.
you struck on a good point there, though. Is like people they want to talk, but then they're still worried about the people that know them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was thinking about that just the other day. It's like I used to feel, and this is just part of the show, but I used to feel because I'm very open about my foibles and my weaknesses, so to speak, and my failures as much I am as everything else. And I used to think, and I think it's just from coming from you're Italian too, so you know this. You come from that Italian background that's a weakness. You don't show weakness.
Right.
And to talk about failures and be open about like your fears and things like that. It's just not something that's born into that Italian psyche.
I would argue it's not born in often to the male psyche, and
Well,
it's what's
yeah,
made
yeah,
life difficult at times for
yeah.
generationally, right?
That's true. That's true. I mean, I think it's changing with younger kids now. I hate to sound old there, but the new generation, seems to be a little bit
Get
more
off
open
my
with their.
lawn!
Yeah, you damn kids. Gives me a.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right.
But I honestly think people that can talk about their feelings are the stronger people, because and the way I always came about it is that if I talk about this, I know somebody else is going through this too, and I think you come from that same line, is that if I talk about this, it's going to. When I think you saw with the no fear thing, you put that out there, and immediately people flock to it because they're feeling the same thing.
Right.
And I,
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think what was interesting, well, 2 points. One, Fatman Chronicles doesn't exist unless I'm open about my failures.
right,
And I would say the same in a way for Endurance for Everyone. I think that's what draws the
mm-hmm.
tight-knit audience, right?
Right,
We
exactly.
don't have huge audiences, but they're very, very engaged, right? When an episode comes out, the
Yes.
people who are engaged, they go get it right away.
And there are people
Um,
that have been with, I know with you since the beginning, and I've been doing this 7 years now, and in different incarnations, of course. But there are people that have been listening to me and my BS, for 7 years. Megan Nanasinkum and Christine Cox and Jennifer and all those people. They've been around since day one,
yeah,
and they're still there. So
suckers.
these suckers. Well, we must be doing something right.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right, right? And it really comes around to the No Fear Project and why.
Mhm.
I mean, this wasn't supposed to be an infomercial, but
Yeah,
um,
no, it's fine.
it's that's why I started it, and I gave a little bit of it, just in a post or two, but the first episode really is going to be the origin story and kind of
Hmm.
how it came to be, because I think it's important that the thought process that I went through for many, many months, it's years, but specifically months on this project, and why I turned it from a personal passion into, well, I'm going to share this now. I
Hmm.
think it's intriguing, and I think that people will relate to it.
I
So
think
I
you're
can't
dead
wait.
on. Yeah, I think you're dead on. When you first brought it up, I believe I told you, I said that's a great idea, because I
Uh,
think people would just be on that quickly. Um,
One in a lifetime, John, and I got it.
you got it. Yeah. Now to figure out how to get it out there, right?
Yeah.
Because
Well, and that's just about time, right?
right.
That's all this is right now is time. And I started to rush it, started putting self-pressure on,
Hmm.
which kind of delves into the topic I think that
Yeah.
we're gonna touch on here.
Hmm.
And it started to become not a project, it started to become not work, but a chore.
Right.
And I had to just go, wait a minute, what am I doing? That's not what this is about. People will wait, and they'll wait for me to get it right. And I did start it early, probably maybe a little early, but I really wanted the engagement in the group to see what would happen. And I honestly thought I'd get 40 people, 50 people maybe.
You
I had
had
no
you had a
idea
hundred
that,
in a few days.
yeah, I
Yeah.
had no idea. I mean, and it's right now, I think it's somewhere around, it's over 300. Um,
Well, it
and
helped.
it's very great and very, very engaged.
Yeah, it helps to be a likable guy too. So I mean, you've already got like your audience from Fatman Chronicles, and you've been involved with my group, so there's almost a self-contained audience already.
Right,
You're not going to get everybody in there. You're not going to get people that because you do have the guys that are, I'm not scared of anything. There's no
right,
fear here. So
right.
and they're and
Well,
they're
here's
they're in
I'll
there.
tell you one of the interesting parts.
Yeah.
There have been people that have left the group
Yeah.
and sent me a message to tell me they were leaving,
Hmm.
which I thought was fantastic. And they weren't leaving because they didn't think it had merit or it wasn't a good idea. Most of them left because, hey, this is a lot to handle.
Yeah.
And I got enough going on in my life.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I want to read about all this right now. But every
There.
one of them has said, I will listen to the podcast.
Yeah, and but you know what? You don't have to read it. That's what I'm saying. If I'm not gonna. There are things that people have touched on in there that kind of struck a chord with me that
Mhm.
I really don't want to touch on with myself.
Yep.
Sometimes, so I got a lot going on too. But it makes you think. And even if you don't share it, it's making people think. I truly believe that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely. And thanks for calling me a likable guy. That doesn't happen often, so I appreciate it.
I mean, you're open, and
That's true.
I'm
To a
not
fault.
I'm not called likable either that much, but people like me better in person for some reason, and even then maybe not. I'm getting ornery in my 56 years,
Getting.
so I'm getting more ornery. How about
There we go. More. That's what I was looking for.
ornier? Is that a word? I'll make up a word.
That's awesome.
So and I find that, and it was a conscious decision on my part a few years ago, just to not worry about not worrying about hurting people's feelings, but at least know, and it was mostly a work, but at least know that if I was coming from a true place and I was telling the truth, that I was just going to say it, and then let the chips fall. It's because as long as I had the truth on my side, I feel I'm okay.
I hear that will set you free.
I read that in a book somewhere. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've read that book. But,
Yeah, right.
yeah. Wasn't
Yeah,
it
but I
Hair,
think
Hair the musical? Wasn't that it?
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Hear the musical.
Hair the musical, the one with Meatloaf in it.
Oh, I love Meatloaf.
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about the singer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Meatloaf again.
Right.
Say if you know that reference. Do you know that reference?
Of course.
Okay, because only the Rocky Horror people know that that line. Oh no, not Meatloaf again. So that dates you if you know that.
Yeah, right.
So, so really, the reason we wanted to get together and discuss was I think you had posted something, and then sometimes what happens is you post something, and I was like, you know what, I wrote something about that a while ago, and I go look for it, and then I update it. I said this kind of fit in. I think that's where this came from, and it was my post about. Now I just blanked on the total title. It was two blog posts ago, but basically about the power of positive thinking.
Yeah, your own worst enemy, I think, is the way you started it.
Your own worst enemy, and I believe that there's a bunch of. My mind always goes to music. There's an Alice Cooper song called "Your Own Worst Enemy," and that's the song that starts playing in my head. You're your own worst enemy. You're a walking catastrophe. So and it got me. I can't even remember what you posted, but you posted something about that. How you start identifying with how you've put yourself out there. So you put
Yeah,
yourself out there as the Fatman Chronicles.
right.
So, and I put myself out there originally as Fat Slow Triathlete, and I used to have to explain that a lot. Why I was calling myself that, and I said it's not that I was being self-deprecating, and I wasn't meaning it that way. I was meaning just to be honest. I'm heavy. I'm not fast, but I am a triathlete. And I was
Right.
meaning that the original thought was, and it did work because I've had people tell me that's how they found me, is if I put out something else, I wanted to attract people that were like me. So if I put out there strong triathlon training or strong triathlete or something like that, that's not going to attract the people that were 300 pounds and trying to find a way to do this.
Right.
But if you do Fat Slow Triathlete, people are going to search for that. How do I do a triathlon if I'm heavy? And if you
Right.
search for that, my name was popping up, and that's how people found me. So that was the whole purpose of that. But what happens is, and I think you can probably relate to this, is that at some point, do you start identifying with that moniker and almost sabotaging yourself and actually, Andrew used to say it, actually giving yourself an excuse to be a Fat Slow Triathlete
Right.
because that's what you've called yourself.
Yeah, I think there's a, definitely we don't name our podcasts or blogs or whatever we're doing those titles unless we're already identifying that way,
Right,
right?
right,
For yours,
exactly.
it was descriptive, and for me, I've seen myself as a fat guy for many, many years, right? So I remember the first time somebody kind of called me out on being fat, and
Mm-hmm.
I was the same height because I've been the same height since like seventh grade, unfortunately.
Yeah.
but I was only like 175 pounds,
Yeah.
180 pounds
Yeah.
maybe. And they were already calling me fat, right,
Oh,
at 5'8". And so when you're called, and it was a pretty young age, right? I mean, I was like 16, 17 years old.
yeah.
So when you start getting called that at such a young age, you kind of embrace it, or else you have to fight against it. And I remember when I was a kid, I would get pissed when people would say that.
Hmm.
And as I got older, it just became kind of part of who I was. And I did use this as an excuse. I love food. I love food.
It's that
So,
gene. We're born with that gene, man.
absolutely. And so I ate. And my excuse was, well, I'm fat. Fat people eat.
Fat people
So
eat. That's what we do.
that's what we do.
Yeah.
So
So
I did
you
and still do.
so you were more in line with Andrew, who grew up heavy. Um,
I wasn't, so I
but
didn't
I don't think
consider
five
myself
eight at one
heavy.
seven. I don't think 5'8" at 175 is heavy.
No, I
That's
really wasn't heavy. I don't feel until I was in my early 20s.
yeah.
I didn't grow up. I was kind of thin. I was an athlete,
Hmm.
uh, team sports mostly.
Okay.
But I won't bore everybody with the story.
Hmm.
They've either heard it or can read about it or listen to back episodes of FMC. But
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is that I moved at some point in my life. At some point, I got fat, and I just embraced it. And then I just got a little bit out of control. And at 5'8", when you get, I mean, I got started getting close to 260, which I understand for some people isn't that big, but for me and what
Hmm.
I was a big boy,
Right.
and I felt terrible, didn't like it, and had to do stuff about it. So calling myself Fatman Chronicles, in some way, I was trying to take the power back in the word.
Yeah, and I think I was like that too. You call yourself that, you take the power away from other people saying it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I think that it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Hmm.
I definitely
Absolutely.
agree with that. But I also think that we fear losing our identity, and it's hard. So take back the pack endurance or fat slow triathlete, right?
Hmm.
If you became sort of chunky, middle of the pack triathlete,
Right.
does back of the pack guy go away, or do you continue to relate to it? And I don't know where your fear would lie, but my fear would lie more when you've got a public audience and you've got a coaching business, right?
Right.
Are people going to identify with me still, or is it now going to be mid packers?
Right. Is it going to chase away the people that I want to attract? Actually,
Right, right.
but I'll tell you, I mean, I don't have a lot of clients right now, coaching clients. Very few of them are overweight, so I don't think it's even. I think I think what attracted them to me was the fact um, that I kind of knew what it was like to start off. I don't even think it was the weight. And now they might say something different, but I have, one that's in Atlanta that's really I wouldn't say he's a podium finisher in triathlons, but he's good.
Yeah,
So he's not. And I had Rob for a while. He knew Rob's good.
yeah, very good.
So I mean, I coached Rob for a year, so I'm not taking credit for him being as good as he is because they have to do the work. But I've got a runner that's now running 8:39-minute miles,
That's
and
awesome.
so I mean, I know what to do, and I don't know how I got on the sidetrack, but I was talking at work one day because I got my new business card, so I was kind of handing them out, and someone who didn't know the background and stuff said you're a coach, and they give you kind of that look. So yeah, they said, well, you don't look like a coach. I said, what? I don't understand what that means.
Is it the beard?
Yeah, it must be the beard, right? And and they said, well, no, you figure if a coach is in triathlon that they look like a triathlete or something like that, to that aspect. I said, really?
It's my
And it
favorite.
was it was a guy, and I was like, do you follow football? And I've written about this before, and they said, yeah, and I said, how many championships has Bill Belichick won as a player? Did he even play football?
Does he look like a coach?
Does he look like a coach?
It's the hoodie.
It's the thing is it's like most of the better coaches in sports were not good athletes.
Right.
It doesn't take it's not, it doesn't go hand in hand. The better
Yeah.
athletes are usually the worst coaches.
Yeah, well, I mean, in baseball, it's catchers, right?
Right.
Often, and a lot of
Catchers.
times backup catchers, right? Because they see
Who
the whole game, they call the
right.
game, they're
Right.
students of the game.
Right.
You can see a lot of people from the back of the pack, and you can study a lot of people, and you can learn. And my favorite, so people that know me, right, and have watched the journey,
Hmm.
when when I did the 50K in August, they were like, wow, I can't believe that, right? Like that's great, and but they
Yeah.
saw me put in the work. When
Right.
I talk to somebody I don't really know and that subject gets brought up, they're like, really?
Yeah, it's that
Right,
incredulous. They're not out and out shaming, not shaming, but not out and out calling you out on it. But it's almost like, uh,
right,
really?
right.
Yeah,
And
really?
that's I've just kind of learned to accept that. And I guess, to get back to your point, right? The power of positive thinking, I believe in that. I also believe that you can still be honest within that category
Hmm.
and understand, like I'm still a fat guy, and that fat guy doesn't go away even if I lose the weight.
Right.
It's like an addiction in a way, right? Once you've decided that you've got an addiction to alcohol or whatever it is,
Hmm.
when people are in recovery, they're in recovery for life. It
Right.
doesn't go away, right? It's not like magically, oh yeah, now I could start having 3 martinis and I'll be fine the next day.
Right.
And it's the same thing with this. It's an ongoing battle. The difference for a lot of times is that it's socially acceptable to eat crap.
Yeah.
So
Almost like almost like the requirement sometimes.
oftentimes it is, right? And so, I mean, I talked to a gentleman today that I've been talking with about eating better and watching his sugar intake in particular and refined foods, refined carbohydrates, and basically being no processed foods. And he's a big boy. He's dropped 25 pounds or so and wants to keep going. And he said, "Hey, I hit a plateau." And I said, "Okay, well, let's talk it through." And then I said, "What have you been, like, what have you changed? Like, I know you track food because you're asking me about macros.
Right.
What have you changed?" Well, about a week ago, we started eating some sugar-free Jello and Cool Whip at night. I'm like, well, that's your problem. More
Yeah.
than likely,
Boom. Yeah.
for somebody that's insulin resistant, like we are,
Yeah.
that's not going to go well. And
Well.
he's like, wow, right? Because he's like, oh, it's not much calories. I'm like, forget about it, right? And it's not for everybody. I'm not out here telling everybody that they can't eat that stuff. I personally don't think you should be eating it. But
Right.
if you want to eat it and it doesn't impact you, that's different. But for those of us who are insulin resistant, it's a big deal, right? But
Right.
the reason he comes to me is because I'm positive about his approach. I was positive with him on the way that I, talked to him about the food. And and he trusted me because I've put myself out there as a recovering, processed food addict.
Right.
And that was what connected him to me. So the title, it could inhibit me at times, and I know it has and it does, but I'm more concerned that I lose my own identity as I lose weight. And sometimes I feel like I do sabotage myself. So it kind of comes from both sides. And which is kind of exactly what you outlined in that blog,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel the same way as you start to get like when I get to a certain weight, it's almost like I know I'm nowhere near my goal, but I'm like, wow, that's pretty damn good. And then I'll slack off.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and it isn't even like it doesn't even take much with me. It's like if I get up in the morning and I've lost 3 pounds, it's like, oh, I've lost 3 pounds. I can slack off today.
Right.
And it's ridiculous. And I've been better recently with this, but even with I think I mentioned it online that I went and saw that movie, The Game Changers,
Yeah.
which is a documentary. It was a one night only thing. Hopefully, it'll be streaming soon. I've never been one. I came from the Vinnie Tortorich side, so how they feel about that kind of stuff. But it made a lot of it made sense. Now, some of it, yeah, you could poke holes in some of the science that they were doing, and some of it was a little ridiculous to me. Um, but yeah, I mean, some of it made sense. And where I come from is like where I was coming at is from. Well, there's nothing in there that's bad for you. So
Right.
everything else is not working. Let's give this a shot. See if I can do it, for one thing.
Right.
So, and I'll tell you, the first week I lost 5 pounds.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And the second week came right back.
Yeah, I mean, I think then we're like that though, John. I think both of us are, right?
That goes back to that set point theory. Is like I'm fighting my body, and right now I'm sitting at 268. And I was telling, there's another guy at work, a big guy like I am, and but not like he's not active, and they're always mistaking us for each other. It's like I'll walk in a room and they'll say, "Hey, Paul," I say, "I'm not Paul." And where it became frustrating is I was talking to a coworker that, the difference is that, yeah, we're both heavy, but he can't go out and bike 50 miles today. I could. And I would like to look like I could do that for a change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the thing. And, like people would, they'll look at me and I know, I mean, they're very nice at the masters meets in the group and everything at swimming, but I know what I look like. I've gotten over worrying about it, but I know they're looking at me, and then I get in the water, and I start swimming and I'm fine. But it's I would like to look like I can do it for a change.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I don't know if that's sounding like I mean it in my head, but it gets frustrating,
Right. Well, I think that when you look in the mirror, I mean, you obviously see the physical, but you're also seeing the athlete. You're seeing the coach.
Right.
You're seeing the person that's out there trying to not only improve your life, but you've put yourself out there to help others, right? To improve their lives. And that's what people can't see that in a single physical setting, right? And we don't have that kind of X-ray into people's hearts and souls to say, hey, here's really who the person is, and here's what they're doing. And fat is related to stupid and lazy, right?
Right.
And it's
exactly right. Stupid and lazy. If you're fat, you're stupid and lazy.
Right.
You're fat because you are lazy.
Right. Well, I mean, as we talked about on the last episode, Bill Maher is out there telling people to fat shame, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill, because that doesn't go
Bill.
on.
I'm just never a big fan of his anyway. I've always thought he was a little bit of an ass.
No.
But, and the side I come on politically, so that should be odd.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I do not like the guy, and I just think he's pompous. And when he did that, I mean, the guy just went right out of my head.
James Corden?
Yes, his response to that was perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a perfect response.
Yeah, which is fat shaming never went away, dude.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's very difficult to have a positive image about who we are and what we're trying to accomplish when that's the kind of stuff that you're facing on a daily basis. Right. And I'm, in the fat community, I've been shamed for not being that big, right? And
yeah. Oh, you're not really fat.
Yeah, you're not fat. Yeah, you're not 300 pounds or 400 pounds or 600 pounds. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, that we're all. Yeah. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but in the end, I'm obese. I've got a problem. I've got a lot of lower belly fat, which just doesn't bode well for my future health if I don't get rid of it. So I've got to keep working on it, right? So
yeah.
The point being, I think that
you deal with the apron thing.
Yeah.
You have a lot of okay.
Yeah.
I've been lucky in that, and I've been lucky in that because I think, well, I mean, you played sports too, but I just think my build is different than that.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of that.
I do. It's unfortunate, right? Like,
yeah. That's hard to get rid of. That's hard to deal with.
It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
I call it my SIP, my stomach and pants. Yeah. It's, I still, every time I go to put on clothes, I'm like, I have no idea why Gretchen puts up with this, but she does. So, I mean, but we're both trying to be healthier. And it's
because she sees the person. She's not seeing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
right. Well, she saw the wine at the beginning, and then it just kind of stuck.
Yeah. You got to get her drunk enough. So,
but yeah, so I think it's really a big topic, though, for people to think about as they go through their journeys. And even if you're not, like, I often think of somebody like a Christine Cox when these subjects come up, because Christine relates to us, right?
Yes.
And Christine is a thin person.
Yes,
right?
Very, very tiny. You'd be shocked to see how tiny she is, actually.
Yeah.
Like if you saw her in person, she's like tiny.
Yeah. But she still relates to us, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she
Absolutely.
eats like we do, right? Or
Yes.
try like we try to, right?
She's very healthy. She was healthy when I first met her 8 years ago.
Yeah.
She was
And
like
I think
that.
it's
So
just fantastic, right? And to use a term, like she's an ally, right?
yeah.
She's not judgmental. She's understanding. She's a big fan, right? She's a
Right.
huge supporter.
Yes.
Um,
Always has
so
been.
I think that we need to understand and how to bridge that gap with more people.
Hmm.
And we need to help people not use being bigger as excuses. And I think for both of us, that's a huge mission.
Yeah.
I mean, I completed that 50K and at the time was probably just under just under 210 at
That's
five
good.
foot eight.
Wow.
That's not bad, but
That's
not
not
that's
bad.
not small.
Yeah, but that's not bad. Where are you now, if you want to say?
I've hit that point. So I'm between 207 and 212
Oh,
pretty much consistently right now.
you are much lighter than I am.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've worked hard to move that set point down to
Yeah.
this. It used to
Yeah.
be, my set point used to be 228 to 232,
Hmm.
and I've moved it down 20 pounds, and I'm super happy with that. Um,
Yeah, Andrew and I used to talk about that back in the day. Is that even when he was losing initially, I know he's lost a lot of weight recently. When he was losing weight initially, we were about the same weight, but we looked totally different.
yeah,
I still carry the football build.
right.
You know,
Are you guys the same height?
he's a little taller than I am. I think.
Yeah, he looks like a taller dude.
Yeah, he's. I think. Yeah, I'm 5'10", so I
Yeah.
think he's a little taller than I am. He's probably Rob's size. Rob's taller than I am.
Yeah, you've got that big barrel chest, right?
Yeah, I have a big. Yeah, I have the football build. I call it. You know,
Right.
and I didn't grow
Yeah.
up with this. Honestly,
No?
this was like no. I was when I graduated. Well, I didn't graduate high school. When I went into the Navy, 135 pounds, and I played. And I was a pretty damn good football player to be honest. And I played strong safety at 135 pounds. When I came out of the Navy 10 years later, I was 175, and I thought I was fat. I
Hmm.
thought I had to lose weight because I was going through college and I was trying to get in the FBI, and I said, "Oh, they'll never let me in at 175. I get down to 160." you know,
And
and
now you're
then
going 175. Wouldn't that be great?
100 pounds less. How much better would I be if I was 100 pounds less? But yeah, it's been a long trip, and then and then to think in 1994. So I got out of the Navy in 91, and in 90 by 96 I was over 300 pounds.
Hmm.
But that's when the cancer hit.
Right,
So
right.
that's a whole other issue, right? So
Yeah, and I think that that's something that's so much different that like what you've dealt with.
yeah, and I get so tired of explaining it to people. It's like even people that mean well when they talk about food to me. Like I don't really talk a lot about nutrition with my clients because I know how I feel, and I know they're probably not going to agree, most of them. So I don't even go there with them. If they ask me questions, I'll answer them.
Right.
But I don't feel that I have the education or the true knowledge base for that. I'm working on that now. But
So you're talking about the certification stuff that you're going through, right?
right, yeah, I'm
And
going through the NASM certification right now.
yeah. Do they talk about like refined foods or are they calories in, calories out? Do you know what their
It's
philosophy
always
is?
it's always calorie in, calorie out. But they do. I was surprised to see that they did say to limit carbohydrates unless they're in the forms of fruits and vegetables,
That's good to
which
hear.
is fine. That's exactly what I would say. I would say if if you're getting your carbs from vegetables and fruits, you're fine.
Right.
To me, that's fine. But
Do they talk about like plant-based or any of that, or they just kind
they
of leave
don't
that
really
alone?
push any kind of diet because they know I think all people are different. We've talked about that before. That
Yeah.
I don't. As long as people become very, especially when they find something new. I did it too. That they become almost zealots.
Right.
And the so the jokes that about vegans. How can you tell a vegan? Give them 5 minutes, they'll tell
Right.
you.
Right.
How can you tell if someone's a vegan? It's the same thing. How do you know somebody goes to CrossFit? Well, give them 5 minutes, they'll tell you.
Right.
It's just the same thing. But it's not. I don't think all that comes from a bad place. I totally get it on the ethical side. If someone feels like, especially after watching that movie, it's like,
Right.
okay, yeah, I get it. I don't want to see that. I get it. But if they're coming from an ethical side, I totally get that.
Yeah, we know, I mean, mutually know several people who are plant-based
Yeah.
and that I admire
Yeah.
greatly. Um, and it does make me think at times. I just, honestly, for me, I have no idea how I do it because I don't really want to cook that much and think. Like
Well, yeah.
the thing I like about NSNG is
Yeah.
when you're on, you can do it without a lot of thought.
Yeah. Because it's all just meat and
Vegetables and
meat and vegetables.
yeah,
So, and really, it wasn't. I thought it was going to be like that too. The thing I have liked about it, and this is going to be like a shocker for people that follow me, because and to let everybody know, I'm just trying this. This is not like something that I might deem that
all
I'm
right.
totally going to
So
be on forever.
all right, so back up.
Yeah.
You got to back up for me. So
Okay.
you saw that movie,
Yeah.
Game
And I
Changer, and
said,
then you
well,
decided to give plant-based a try,
let's give it a try. Yeah.
and that
Let me
was
see.
2 weeks ago,
Yeah, 3 weeks now.
3 weeks.
3 weeks
Okay.
Monday. Yeah.
So you've been
So
doing 3 weeks?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Now go ahead. Sorry. I just
it
wanted to get
hasn't
some
been,
background.
and and you have to. You don't have to, but you eat that stuff that Vinny loves. The quinoa. But I've never had it before. It's the first time I've ever had it. It
I
doesn't
see.
taste like it. There's no taste to it.
I've got a great quinoa salad recipe.
Really?
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll send it to you.
okay. What I did like was the fact that it opened back up, like things like pasta, which
Mm.
I totally hadn't eaten forever. But I do make sure that I get, like, I go to Trader Joe's or a Fresh Market here and get the whole wheat pasta. Try to keep it whole wheat at least. I'm not going into the white stuff. And even in the movie, they tell you to stay away from white stuff.
Yeah.
Like, even plant-based people will tell you, well, don't eat white rice
Hmm.
and don't eat white potatoes. Those things will mess you up. So even in that community there, and and like I said, some of the science was iffy. I mean, they go into this whole thing about erectile dysfunction and stuff like that, but the people that they're testing are all teenagers.
Mm.
Well, of course teenagers are getting 12 erections a night. They're not 56 years old. you know,
You're
no,
hoping for that a year.
there's no war. Yeah, there's no war wounds on them. you know. So
Yeah, I haven't
that was
seen it. I'm interested in watching it though. I mean, I've watched. I haven't, believe it or not, I haven't watched Fat yet. I have it. I just haven't watched it.
It was a good watch. It was a good watch. It's nothing because we've followed him forever.
Right.
It's nothing new to us.
Yeah.
I honestly, I mean, if I had to be honest about it, I would say, well, two things. One, they didn't need the amputated foot. I get why they did it. They didn't have to show that. That was kind of gross. And two, I think almost that they're 5 years too late with it because all the stuff in there has already been out in other things.
Right.
And that's a shame because I think they present it really well.
Mm. Yeah, I thought it was kind of late to the game too. But I'll watch it and I'll watch this Game Changer and I'm super interested in it, right? And I talk
Right.
with, certain people about this kind of stuff and I would like to eat more vegetables. I just think the world might be better off if we ate a little bit more fruits and vegetables,
And
a
that
little
comes
bit less
across.
meat,
Yeah, that's a message in the movie too. And
you know.
Schwarzenegger says it. He says, "I'm
Yeah,
not telling you to do it 7 days a week. Try it a day.
yeah.
See if you can do it a day."
Well, that's Oprah, right? Meatless Monday.
Yeah, but Schwarzenegger's saying it, and and he'll tell you, I ate meat. He was a meat eater, 12 eggs a day, things like that.
Are there any vegan bodybuilders like to that like
Yeah, they're in the
that
movie.
get like are they? Yeah, because that's interesting to me because you can get a lot of protein out of plants.
Well,
So
that's always been the fallacy is that, and honestly, I've believed it too. Is like you don't get enough protein when you're vegan, so how can you be a bodybuilder? They
right.
showed I can't remember his name, but he plays for the Tennessee Titans, defensive end. He went vegan one summer off the off season. He's had his best season since. he's been better, and his wife actually is the one that got him on it. And the players were like making fun of him because what was he eating? Because he was bringing the stuff with him because at an NFL team they don't have that kind of stuff. And then she actually has a business where she's bringing the food to all of them.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on ESPN. There's she converted like half the team or something.
Yeah, it's like half the damn team now.
Yeah.
So,
well, they're not very good though.
But a good defense.
Yeah, they do have a good defense.
So,
I mean, I think it's interesting though, and what I really love about it, John, is that you're staying open-minded to trying things and finding.
I think that's what's important is that you can't close yourself off to. The only thing that I'm very close-minded on is the sugar thing because I totally believe that's bad for you.
I would agree. I mean, I think that we're both on the processed food side, but I don't know how anybody could argue that it's not bad for you.
Well, you people do.
Well, sure, because calories, right?
Right.
I only ate 3 Snickers today, and I still gained weight.
Well, that's the Weight Watchers thing too, which I've been trying too, by the way. And I was totally against Weight Watchers for years. But I said, you know what? I'm going to try it. And
you're on the dub?
Yeah.
The double dub?
The double W. And because what I wanted to do was I say, okay, if I combine this with that, because Weight Watch is really about points. It's that point system,
right,
which I've always kind of railed at. And I still don't like it because this is what I don't like about it. Bananas are 0 points.
Right.
That was ridiculous. Pineapples, 0 points.
Right.
You cannot tell me, and I think this is where it goes wrong. It's like it's not the scheme because I don't think the people that put together that plan had that in mind. It's the people that do it get it wrong. So they think, well, I've eaten pineapple. I can eat pineapple for breakfast, which is 0 points. That means I can have that chocolate cake and still be under my points for the day.
Right. Well, I mean, that part of it's true. I mean, so what's interesting to me is why not just use MyFitnessPal or something?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
because I think it's where it's helped me is that it's made me pay attention to portions.
Okay.
So if I know, well, eggs are 0 points, so I can't use eggs. But
eggs are 0 points.
0 points. Yeah. So I mean,
so you could eat like a dozen
eggs and have 0 points for the day. I know. See, I don't get that.
That's not right.
It's not right exactly. So
Oprah, if you're listening, you got to fix that.
You got to fix that. Because I don't even know how they come up with that. But what was I going to say?
But I guess I should probably be thinking about my own. I've got a lot of stuff I got to fix. So.
I mean,
criticizing Weight Watchers or Oprah, but I do think that's tough for me to get my head around.
And me too. And that's what the issue I have is some of these 0 point foods don't make any sense to me. You can tell me that an egg is 0 points, but good olive oil is like 10 points, just a teaspoon.
Oh, they don't
that's calorie in, calorie out crap. That's high fat, low fat crap.
Well, but that doesn't make. I don't know. I mean, an egg is 70 calories for a large egg?
Something like that, yeah.
And I don't know how much fat is in it compared to olive oil, but it sounds to me more like anti-fat.
That's exactly what it is. And the higher the fat content of the food, the more points it is.
Mm.
So any oil is like a no-no because that's going to your points will go through the roof.
Interesting. So you're using a lot of Pan?
Yeah, I use butter, which they love too.
Yeah. Well, how many points butter?
Yeah, a lot. 5 points for like a teaspoon or something like that. I have to look. I don't really pay much attention. It's interesting to me to like just put in everything that I ate that day and see where I come out.
Yeah, I think that,
and that's what I'm saying. I know if I eat this whole steak, that's 30 something points, and I would have 47 for the day. Or if I eat half that steak, which is still satisfying, I don't have to eat that whole steak. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes, and America's like this. This is how America is. We eat way too much food. When you go to a restaurant, you get there's piles of food. You don't need that much. And the problem is you grow up with like me, who grew up poor. You finish your damn plate.
Right.
And I used to tell when I used to train a lot with Jennifer Coltrera. She never ate a lot, but she would always order a lot, but she would never finish anything. She was just like she would order like a slice of pie just to have a bite of it. But I can't let it sit there.
Right.
There's no way I'm sending it back to the trash. So I would eat it.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
I mean, and mine's not because I grew up. I mean,
Right.
not it had nothing to do with how I grew up, but I just like food.
Well, I mean, I think it did have something to do with. I think it gets in your head. I mean, I grew up very poor, so it was like blasphemy to leave something on your plate.
Right.
You know, you just didn't do it, even if it was, spaghetti with ketchup. You ate it.
Right.
You know, that's not a joke. We did eat that.
That's vegan, right?
I think it is. It's ketchup. I don't think there's any vegan about Heinz ketchup. Watered down Heinz ketchup.
Oh gosh.
Or putting water in the milk jug and swishing it around, to get the rest of the milk out. So
those were the days.
I'm not affected by it at all.
No.
56 years later, I'm not affected at all.
So just so everybody knows, I'm not a licensed therapist, so I cannot help John.
Yeah, that's beyond help. At this point in my life, I am who I am. It's like there's only so much growth left.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you're trying this stuff, and I look forward to you sharing it on the podcast or blogging about it, whatever you decide to do with it, because I think it's really interesting.
Well, even with that, it's like I struggled with that because, I don't think it's being disingenuous to try things, but I think some people would think that if I say, well, you know what, I'm going to try Weight Watchers because I've railed against Weight Watchers for 6 years. And it's like, well, what's this now? You're going to try Weight Watchers? I'm just trying anything at this point, because I'm tired of being 260 pounds. I'm tired of training. And I know I'm going to get comments about this, Megan, but, when you're training 6-7 days a week and you're not losing it and you're eating right and you don't lose any weight, it's like it gets frustrating after a while.
Yeah. Well, you've got other factors, right? So with the thyroid and stuff. So I think for you, the equation is much more difficult.
Yeah.
If the equation's difficult anyway,
yeah,
yours is exponentially difficult.
Right, and I still think it goes back to the inflammation issues I have because of all that. So,
right.
I mean, honestly, you don't lose 3 pounds in a day. That's all inflammation. It's
Right.
all water weight.
Right.
So if I drop 3 pounds in one day, well, I must have not eaten something that didn't cause me to inflame. If I gain tomorrow morning, like today, I gained 2 pounds. I didn't eat anything I didn't think bad yesterday, but I gained 2 pounds overnight. Well, I must have eaten something that inflamed me.
Right.
Tomorrow, that weight will be gone.
Right.
So I did talk to somebody who was talking about trying something new that was having issues with inflammation, and her doctor put her on medical marijuana.
That's just a really good excuse.
For her inflammation, and she's lost almost 100 pounds.
Wow.
So I was talking to her online. I was like, maybe this is something I ought to try.
I wonder if you could get the same effect with like CBD oil or something.
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking, is like without having to smoke, because I don't want to smoke stuff into my lungs, So is there another way to do this?
Well, there's edibles too, right?
Yeah, I guess I could eat it.
You got that, but
you get higher if you eat it. You know that, right? That's true.
I don't have any. Well, that I can't. My kids won't listen to this one. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to get into my very bad early years.
Hey, I grew up in the 70s, man.
So going back to your comment about being disingenuous, I think that for me, it's the opposite. I think hearing you talk about it and being open-minded about it would be super intriguing in many respects. And if people find it disingenuous, the good thing is it's a free show, so they can pay for it.
Right.
And the other thing is it's your show, so you get to talk about whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. I had to say something to somebody on another page. It's like somebody, it wasn't even health related. They said you shouldn't talk about, it was politics too. You shouldn't talk about politics on your page. Blah, blah, blah. I said, it's her damn page.
Yeah.
What are you telling her that what she can talk about on her page?
Yeah.
It's like, who do you think you are, man?
Right. I mean,
I used a few
that's the
other
great.
choice words,
Right, right.
but
That's the great part. But I think this would be super interesting to kind of follow
yeah,
along and see how your
I'll tell
life
you.
changes.
Well, I've been struggling with it, whether to put it out there because again, going back to that, I identify as a certain way, and now I'm changing. I'm trying to look at other things, and maybe there's something else here.
Yeah.
Is that going to change the way people not perceive me? I guess, but is it going to come across disingenuous? Like I said, I guess
No,
it's kind of like doing a endurance for everyone show, and I'm not training. And
right,
we talked about that's why Andrew left the show
right,
originally. It's
right.
because he had stopped training, and and he's an ethical person. You know how Andrew is. He's not going to portray himself a certain way if he's not doing it.
Right.
So
Well, I think you should talk about it. I think for me, it would be interesting in the blog form to get in because I'm nerdy like you with stats,
right,
but
yeah,
you could slice and dice these statistics, right?
oh yeah,
In terms of weight to intake to change in diet. I mean, you could get a lot of really interesting correlation.
yeah,
So,
yeah. And the problem is you find a lot of correlation, but not a lot of causation.
causation, right?
Yeah, so
Well,
that's
but correlation in dietary realms, right? In terms of weight, I think is pretty important,
oh yeah, yeah.
right? So
Well, and I think
causation that to me is heads more towards disease. I think then correlation becomes dangerous versus causation.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was talking to somebody at work about that today too. About that's causation, that's not correlation.
Right.
Just because you went and saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yesterday and you lost 3 pounds doesn't mean that movie caused you to lose 3 pounds.
Right. Right.
It's just a correlation.
Right. Awesome. Well, this was
All
fun,
right,
man.
man. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. So we'll do it again. We'll do it again. And I hope you get that show up and running soon, right?
Yeah, so my goal is to get the No Fear project launched in sometime in October with kind of the preliminary episodes, and then have our first subject matter episodes come in November. And it's going to be fear of failure and fear of success, where we're going to examine is that two sides of the
Ooh,
same coin? Are those
yeah.
completely different phenomenon? Are they always related? I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to talk about it in not just general terms either. We're going to talk about it in terms of some real life situations, including things like divorce, right? Where you
Yeah,
might
yeah.
get this fear of failure, with marriage.
Yep.
So there's going to be some interesting subjects.
I
I
could be
think
a
it.
subject matter expert on that, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I've got something planned for that I'm trying to line up that I think could be very entertaining and intriguing,
Yeah,
at least compelling. Entertaining, but it's probably the wrong word for it, but compelling.
yeah.
But I can't talk about it yet because I don't have it fully nailed down.
Oh,
But
yeah, yeah. No, yeah.
it's going to be interesting to get this thing launched and see where it goes. But the beginning of it is going to be like an origin story, and then talking to uh, different people, both everyday people and experts in the field, therapists, counselors, about what is fear
Yep.
and what does it mean, and is there degrees of fear, and do words matter when we're talking about the degrees of fear. So it should be pretty interesting. Those first couple, 2 or 3 episodes will
I
just
think
kind of
you're.
start to get into it.
I think you're definitely onto something there. I think eventually maybe we combine all the podcasts together into like a podcasting network
Absolutely.
and just make lots of money and never have to work again.
Well, that would be if we could figure out how to monetize this stuff, I would love it.
I've been trying for years. I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
So, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks
And
for
we
having me.
will, yes, of course, anytime. And I'm always willing to come on yours.
Appreciate
So,
it.
all right. So, who knows when the next one will be? But until next time, this is John saying goodbye to Pete up there in Chicagoland. And is it still storming?
It sounds like it's calming down right now.
Good. All
Yeah.
right. So, and until next time, swim calm, bike strong, and run steady.